we heard from the two listening speakers, and I'm happy that, let me just pick on one important listening issue, that a Muslim has no time for retirement. There is no time that a Muslim should retire. We always have to work. So that makes it mandatory, even as we are working for the public, for the government, for the company, for whatever. We must understand that a time will come when we'll finish that and start doing our own. So we have to start doing that. And let me just say, I think we have started doing something. My brother said we are not doing it. We have. I mean, the fact that we are talking about anything means that we have started thinking about things. Exactly, yeah. So we must work because, like the Sheikh said, work is ibadah. And we must relate that our work to the pleasure of Allah, because we are working because we want to be fit, we want to be independent in order to worship Allah. We eat because we want to be healthy, we want to be well, so as to worship Allah, and that is this linkage. So why must we have to start thinking of doing something, whether we're working for whoever, our own? Because one of the most fundamental things that will give us freedom to do our ibadah is economic freedom and independence. There is a hadith. I'm sure the Sheikh will, you can see the Sheikh later for the details. But the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was quoted to have said, a stronger Muslim, a fitter Muslim, is better than a weak Muslim. He wasn't referring to just Muslims that could carry sword and go and fight wars, even a physically stronger Muslim, according to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is better than a weak one. But he was also referring to the fact that a Muslim that is strong enough to take care of his own responsibilities is always better than the one whose responsibilities are being taken over by somebody. So on that basis, we have to start thinking as to what do we do? Okay, now to the starting a business. Let me just try and this simple. It's like a roller coaster. We know a roller coaster. Yeah, it's something that is chilling to our spine once we go on it, but it's also thrilling. I mean, when we go on it, we're always afraid, we think we're going to fall. But once we get this, and we're happy that we're on the roller coaster. That is how starting a business is. It's something that we dread initially because of the unknown. Another example is like driving on a hill. You can do all your estimations, all your valuations, all your this thing, but you won't know the bends and the ups and the downs until actually when you drive on that uphill descent drive. So it is important that we must understand where our capabilities are. And we must understand what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. We must also try and establish a business that will target the majority. We must identify life issues that we are going to help this in change, so that we're going to get this in people. And of course, we must learn. There is nobody that ever does anything without learning how to do it. I had an argument with my brother, one of my brother-in-laws, who is a deacon, a pastor. And I kept telling him, he said he was showing me a video where somebody was prayed to and he just stood up and started walking. I said, that is naturally impossible. Because there is no way an adult that had never walked in his life will just stand up and start walking. That is against the laws of nature. The child must have to be carried for a while. He will learn to start sitting down. He will now start, as he's sitting down, he'll be falling. He will not get control of that movement. He will start crawling. Then he will start standing up and falling down. Then after a while, his muscle will be strong and he will walk. So we have to learn the basics of everything. But the most important thing is that while we are doing this, our desire must be stronger than our fears. We must be resolute. We must be determined that we want to change our fortunes. There are challenges, there will be ups and downs, there will be failures here and there, but we always must have to now take our failures and analyze them and turn them into opportunities and see it as things that better us. An executive was brought to us. Let me just share this with you. We went to a senior staff training in Boston, Harvard, And an executive was brought to us from Coca-Cola, who told us about his experience, how he made the company lose millions of dollars. And he went to his boss and tendered his letter of resignation. And the boss looked at the letter, read the letter, and asked him to sit down. And he shredded the letter. He said, "You have given us a life experience, and you want us to now miss that opportunity, and then you go somewhere, so they will hire somebody who will now come and repeat the same thing again." He said, "You are not going anywhere." So what does it show? It shows that we must be able to learn from our shortcomings. We make mistakes here, we lose money here, but so that we can go back at the end of the day, take our books and sit down and say, okay, I lost 1,000 because I thought if I spend it like this, I'll make it. So next time, maybe I should spend 500 here and maybe 500 there. Or maybe I should not spend there at all. So shortcomings and failures are things that are meant to better us and make us strong. Additionally, we must also appreciate the fact that we must never overspend and we must never underspend. I gave you the example of the ministry where where they want 1 billion to pay somebody's budget and the government approves only 200 million. And that happens every day. That's why you see that the only thing they will do is probably to paint the agency and maybe give contractors money to supply tissue paper because the money is not even enough for anything. So once we are doing that, we must understand the value, the quantum of the money that we require to give us the results that we desire. And we must not overspend, and we must never spend. By the time we do all these things, at the end of the day, we must understand that it is the nature of things that we must be able to monitor and evaluate before we move on to the next step. So what do? We do the business step by step, so that we become a little bit proficient. And like I said the other time, we must be able to identify who our clients are, what our targets are, what service we are seeking to provide to the people. Like my brother said, it doesn't have to be 1 billion, it doesn't have to be this thing. We can start small, but we must be able to do something for ourselves. Because even as I can see a lot of us are young and we are still working in one government agency or in one company or this thing, we must be able to now look at our lives and see how much we earn and know that at a certain point that earning will stop, and we must be able to devise a means in which we are going to be getting something similar to that before we leave that service. And I'm happy that we are here talking. When we were doing our own, by the time we moved from Lagos to here, we were doing the MICA here. Nobody told me about these things. Yes, I learned from experience the hard way. So you people have the benefit now of people discussing these things. It's important that you go and sit down. What is it? Each and every one of us has been endowed by one capability or another. Each one has his own special area that God has blessed him with. We must find out what it is and nurture and maximize it for our own benefit so that we'll be economically independent and be able to take care of our responsibilities and also be able to worship our Creator. Thank you so very much.